In the heart of a war-torn village, where the walls of buildings crumbled like brittle bones and the streets bore the scars of relentless violence, there was a soldier named James. He had seen too much. The horrors of war had etched lines of despair onto his face, and his eyes, once bright with hope, now harbored a darkness that seemed irreparable. James had fought alongside his comrades, men and women who had become like family in the chaos of battle. But war had stolen many of them, and the ones who remained were haunted by the memories of what they had witnessed. Every day felt like an eternity in this forsaken place, and James had lost sight of the world beyond the constant danger and destruction. One evening, as the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting an eerie crimson glow across the village, James found himself patrolling a particularly desolate street. His boots echoed in the silence, a sound that resonated with the emptiness of his heart. The once vibrant neighborhood was now reduced to rubble and despair. As James turned a corner, his gaze fell upon a small figure huddled in the shadows. It was a child, no older than 5, with dirt-smeared cheeks and ragged clothing. The child's wide, innocent eyes stared up at James with a mixture of curiosity and fear. James froze, his hand instinctively moving to his holster before he realized there was no threat here, just a child seeking refuge from the horrors outside. With cautious steps, James approached the child and knelt beside them. He spoke softly, his voice carrying the weight of his own exhaustion. "Hey there, little one. Are you all right?" The child's gaze never wavered from James. In response to his question, the child's lips curved into the faintest of smiles, a smile that, in this bleak landscape, felt like a beacon of hope breaking through the storm clouds of war. It was a smile that held no knowledge of the world's cruelties, a smile untouched by the darkness that had consumed James's soul. For the first time in a long while, James felt a warmth he had forgotten. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a piece of chocolate, offering it to the child. The child's eyes lit up with joy as they accepted the sweet treat, their fingers delicately wrapping around the chocolate, like a fragile treasure in a world devoid of such luxuries. James stayed with the child for a while, their silent companionship comforting in its simplicity. He watched as the child's small hands carefully broke the chocolate into 2 pieces, one for themselves and one for him. It was a simple gesture, but it spoke volumes about the child's resilience and generosity. As the night deepened and the cold settled in, James realized he couldn't leave the child alone in this desolate place. He decided to take the child to the makeshift shelter where he and his comrades sought refuge during the darkest hours of the day. He picked up the child and cradled them in his arms, the weight of innocence resting against the weight of his burdens. In the shelter, the other soldiers were surprised to see James with the child. They too had forgotten what it meant to smile, to experience a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. The child's presence brought a spark of life back into their weary eyes. Over the days that followed, the soldiers shared their meager rations with the child, and in return, the child shared their laughter, their curiosity, and their boundless hope. It was as if this small, resilient soul had breathed life back into the desolate village and its inhabitants. James, in particular, found solace in the child's presence. He watched as the child explored the shelter, their eyes filled with wonder at the simplest of things. A flickering candle, a tattered book, a song hummed softly in the night. The child's smile became a daily reminder that even in the darkest of times, there was still light to be found. As the days turned into weeks, the soldiers and the child formed an unlikely family, bound not by blood but by the shared experience of survival. They protected each other, cared for each other, and found hope in each other's company. Then, one fateful day, the war began to recede, and the distant sounds of gunfire grew fainter. Peace, a word long forgotten, seemed within reach. The soldiers, including James, were soon called away to join the efforts to rebuild their shattered land. As James said his farewells to the child, he was struck by a mix of emotions: gratitude for the hope the child had brought him, sadness at leaving behind this newfound family, and a glimmer of optimism for the future. The child, who had once been a fragile beacon of hope in a war-torn village, had now become a symbol of resilience and the possibility of a better tomorrow. As James walked away, he knew that the child's smile would stay with him, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the smallest gestures of kindness and innocence could shine as brightly as the sun breaking through the clouds after a storm. And so, with a heavy heart and a newfound sense of purpose, James left the war-torn village, carrying the memory of that child's smile with him, a guiding light on his path toward a brighter, more hopeful future.